Recording. Okay, welcome everybody to our Friday 11 o'clock class. The book is AFI's 100 Years, 100 Songs, book number 134. And today we are doing Seems Like Old Times. This is an older song, 1948. Your grandma probably listened to it a lot. I went to YouTube and listened to quite a few different recordings, and they ranged from very slow to a little bit jazzy. So this is one of those songs that you can pretty much play any way you want to play it. This was a popular song, music and lyrics by Carmen Lombardo and John Jacob Loeb, originally recorded by Guy Lombardo's orchestra in 1945. Hit versions in 1946 include Lombardo, he was number 7, Vaughn Monroe, also number 7, and Kate Smith, who was number 12 on the charts. Interesting. It seems like whenever somebody had a good song, everybody who could recorded it and threw it out there and hoped that it charted. And that's just the way they did it. I don't think that would work in today's world. This also became the theme song of Arthur Godfrey on his radio programs, and it played a central role in Woody Allen's 1977 film, Annie Hall, where it is sung by Diane Keaton. Now, I looked that up, and she sings very slow, but very nice job by her. Also, Rosemary Clooney and Count Basie, they were a little more jazzy than that. And yeah, Kate Smith was also very slow, but yeah, Rosemary Clooney she jazzed it up a little bit. So I would say anywhere from 100, I don't know if I'd go too much slower than that because you have a lot of whole notes to hold, up to about 120 for your speed, for your tempo. What key are we in?
F.
F. We are in the key of F, absolutely. So what that means for you is that if you're using an introduction, you want to start it with the F chord. You always want to start the song in the key the song was written in, because that sets the tone and it makes the listener ready to hear the song. It also sets your tempo so that you as the player know where you're going with this. I am adding some extra chords. But let's talk first about what kind of backgrounds work on this. Pretty much anything that's in 4/4 time, actually. I went to swing and sway under foxtrot, just because that kind of sounds like the Guy Lombardo type bands that were out there. Vegas Big Band is also very good. Tap Soft Shoe, Bert's Bounce, Satin Lady, Smooth Foxtrot, pretty much anything that's over here in the big band foxtrot and swing, which are the first 3 buttons on your Rhythm Plus orchestration. Pretty much anything in there is going to work.
I liked Floyd's piano with the harmony, country harmony on.
Nice. I'll bet you that was kind of fun. Yeah. Excellent.
Bert's Bounce with number 7 really is good too.
Yeah, Bert's Bounce is awesome.
Yeah.
Absolutely. For those of you that have smaller instruments, standard, swing time, or gypsy jazz, those were good as well. That's on the Freedom 3. And if you are on any of the easy products, your standard full band, slow it down, is going to give you that big band feeling, that little bit of a bounce that you could drag it out if you want. You could put it on any of your smooths or any of your dinner and dances. But to me, it kind of lays there and doesn't do anything if you really don't have a singer on it. So I liked the ones with a little more bounce. But again, you're the arranger, so I leave that up to you. I'm going to start with swing and sway. Now let's go down to 110. We'll go right in the middle. And I'm going to play it. It's just a one-time through song. We'll talk about how to arrange that as well. So go ahead and mute yourselves. And here we go, what seems like old times. Okay. And then, of course, you could put your ending on or play it again. If you do decide to play it again, you might want to hit your transpose button and go up half a step. Transpose takes the entire organ up in half steps. So if you're playing a note, that same note goes up in half steps. The entire organ goes up in half steps. And we'll talk a little bit about, once I get the chords and fingering in, we'll talk a little bit about how to transpose, different methods of transposing, because there really is no right or wrong way. There's just different ways to do it, depending on how you want to have the listener hear it. Okay, let's talk about some chords. Get your pencils out. I do have them. And remember, chords are always, always, always optional. You can play the chords that are there, and it's going to be absolutely beautiful. But if you want to push yourself, you may wish to make that very first D a D augmented, D-A-U-G. That spells Daug. And it is a 3-fingered chord. D, F sharp, A sharp. There is actually a mathematical formula for forming an augmented chord. It is the letter plus 4 more. And you have to play all 3 notes. If you want to put the D7 in as well, add the C. C, D, F sharp, A sharp. And that's good for 1 measure. Second, the next measure, over the A whole note for times, plain old D or D7, dinosaur 7, which is C and D. Next measure, over the B flat for having you, go back to the D augmented. D augmented. And as you can see, that B flat, which is the same as the A sharp in the chord, is there in the melody. So that augmented chord is just going to add a little bit of spice to it. Make it sound nice. Second line, first measure, over the B flat for walk, D or D7. So if you want to play it the easy way, you can just play D7 for all those measures that we just did. If you want to spice it up a little bit, try the D augmented, and I think you'll like how it sounds. The G chord, you can play plain old G with your thumb. You may play G7, which is F and G, and you may play a G9. 9 chords are actually kind of fun because it's 4 notes in a row. F, G, A, B. You can just take those 4 fingers and lay them on there. So it's kind of an easy chord, but if you're not ready for it, G or G7 is absolutely fine. Let's go to the third line. If you wish, you may put a 7 on the G minor. You have to play the G and the B flat, but you may put the 7 in, which is an F. F, G, B flat. The C7 is perfectly fine where it is, C and B flat, or just plain old C. The F chord is good for 2 counts. Now we're going to add 2 more chords to this measure, so write small. Over the 3rd beat, which is the 3rd D quarter note, over the word arms, put in a C augmented, C-A-U-G. It is a 3-fingered chord, and your notes are C, E, G sharp. Remember the letter +4 +4. And beat 4 over the C, put a C minor, which is C and E flat. So you're actually going to get a very nice walk down to the next chord, which is D in the next line, or D7, which is C and D, or D augmented, which is D, F sharp, A sharp, or if you read it better, D, F sharp, B flat. That's fine too. It's the same notes. With or without the 7 is okay. And then in beat 3 of that measure, which is after you play the A dotted half note, now put in a D or D7. Take the augmented away. The G can be just a G. It can be a G7, or it can be a G9. G9 is F, G, A, B. How does that make a difference in the sound? Let's try it. Here's just a G. Here's a G7, F and G. That's always a lead-in chord. And here's the 9. It's very subtle, but it's very nice. Could you hear the difference? If you didn't hear the difference, just play G7. Don't make yourself work so hard. Top of the next page. Line 1, last measure. Make that D a D augmented, D, A-U-G. Your notes are D, F sharp, A sharp, or D, F sharp, B flat, whichever one reads better for you, with or without the 7, which is the C on the bottom. Second line, first measure. Plain old D or D7, C and D. See a pattern here? It's just repeating what we already did. Second line, second measure, over the B flat for dinner dates. D augmented, or D7, or D7 augmented, which would be C, D, F sharp, A sharp. Second line, third measure, over the B flat for flowers. Go back to a plain old D or D7. Line 3, you can probably guess what's coming up here. G or G7 or G9, which is F, G, A, B. Fourth line. You may put a 7 on the G minor. You have to play the minor, which is G and B flat. Don't cheat, just don't play G, it's not going to work. G and B flat. If you wish to put the 7 on it, it is F, G, and B flat. The C7 is fine, or just plain old C, C and B flat, or plain old C. The F is good for 2 counts. Now we're going to put 2 more chords in here. It's the same thing we did on the first page. Over the 3rd beat, which is the D quarter note for the word used to do. C augmented, C, E, G sharp, and beat 4 over the C quarter note for the word to, C minor, which is C and E flat. Make that D a D augmented if you wish. D, F sharp, A sharp, with or without the 7, which is the C. That's good for 2 counts. Beat 3 over the A quarter note for the word seems. Go back to plain old D or D7. Last line. Make that G, if you wish, a G9, which is F, G, A, B. The second measure over that blacked in quarter note, beat 1. Put a G minor, gorilla minor, G and B flat, or a G minor 7, which is F, G, B flat. The C can be a C7, which is C and B flat, or it can be a C9, which is C, D, E, and B flat. Now the B flat can be on the top, or it can be on the bottom. It just depends on which one is more comfortable for you. That's good only for 1 count, but you can drag that ending out if you wish. And then over the A for the word with, go back to plain old C7. And the F is fine. Okay. Any questions about chords? Nope. You got them, huh?
Line 2, second page.
Line 2, second page. Okay.
Where did
First
you start?
measure, D7, dinosaur 7.
Oh, that was in the first, over the A?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Second measure over the B flat, D augmented. And third measure over the B flat, D7.
Got it. Thank you.
You're
Thank you.
welcome. Anybody else?
Dawn, what is the formula for a 9?
9
Chord.
chords. Okay. Well, a 9 chord is a 7 chord with the 9th grade of the scale added in. So what's the 9th grade of the scale? Well, yeah, it's actually the same as the 2nd grade of the scale. Because if you count, let's just go with C. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 9. The 9 is a D, which is the same as the second one. 1, 2. Okay, so you have to have the 7, which is the letter minus 2, so it would be C and B flat. Then you also have to have the 9, which is the same as the second, and you must add the third as well, or else it won't sound. So it would be the C minus 2 for the 7, plus 2 for the 9, and plus 2 more for the third. So minus 2, the letter plus 2, and then plus 2 more. That's the technical formula for it.
Thank
Now,
you.
for those of you who don't care, it's okay. And that can pretty much be in any order you want, but as you can see, they all come right in a row. The same thing with that G9. It's G, you need the 7 because so you count back 2, it's F and G, and then go back to G, and you're going to count up 2, and you're going to count up 2 more. There's your F, G, A, B. Those are jazz chords. They're also lead-in chords because it includes the 7. But that's the difference. There's also a chord called an add 9. We don't have any in this song, but that's a little bit different chord. So there is a difference between an add 9 and a regular 9. The only difference is that one includes the 7 and one does not. And if some of you are going, it's okay. It's absolutely okay. No worries. But if you can pick up one thing every time you come to a music class, then you can learn some good stuff, and it just makes your playing more fun. All right, you ready for some fingering? I actually have 2 sets of fingering. One is not easier than the other. They're both about the same. One cheats and puts a 1 on the black notes, and the other one does what I normally teach you, and it starts right off with that C sharp. Normally what I would do is put a 2 on the black note and tuck my thumb under, and then reach up. If you feel like it, at this stage, this is kind of an advanced class, it's okay to do a C sharp 1 and a D2. So whichever one is the easiest for you. So that first phrase, you might want to write one of the notes, one of the sets of fingering underneath, write the other one on top, and then choose what's better for you. So you can either do C sharp 2, D1 with a circle, B flat 5 or 4, and A 4 or 3. Or you could do the C sharp 1 and the D2. Pretty much whatever finger gets there first in this case, whatever is comfortable. I'm only going to do one set of fingering from now on, but you guys know that if your fingers don't like working that way, try something else, or email me, or call me, or come on into the store and I'll make sure you get the second set of fingers to make it work easier for you. Okay. Having you to walk with, B flat 3. By the way, you probably want to put a check mark between times and having. You're going to lift your hand and reposition it. B flat 3, A2, D5, B flat 3. Second line, B flat 3, A2, C sharp 1, D2. You can see that wouldn't work if you wanted to go down on that 2 finger. You need a different set of fingers. A5, G4, check mark. A3, G2, D5, A3, A3, G2, C sharp 1, D2, F4, D2, A5, F sharp 2, G1 with a circle. We are doing it here. High D5, 5, 5, C4, B flat 3, A2, check mark. A5, G4, F3, F3, G4, second page, F3, E2, G4, E2, D1, C2 with a circle, you're crossing it over, C sharp 3, D1, circle it, you're tucking it right back under. B flat 5, A4, check mark. B flat 3, A2, D5, B flat 3, B flat 3, A2, C sharp 1, D2, third line A5, G4, check mark.
Excuse me, Dawn.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I just got in. I had trouble getting in. What song are we on, please?
Song, it seems like old times.
Oh, thank you.
Page 210.
210. Thank you so much.
This technical stuff doesn't always
Oh,
work.
it didn't for me this morning.
Oh,
Yes.
I'm so sorry. Wow.
All right. So
sorry, honey.
what page are we on?
We are right now doing fingering.
Oh,
Somebody tell me where we left off. Third line on the, is it third line on page 2? Are we third line on page 2? Is that where we are?
Third
Yeah.
line, page 2.
Okay,
Go
thank you.
thank you.
Helen, you can always come in and get the rest of it, or I can actually just scan you the music after class. Just
Okay, that'd be
shoot me
great.
an
Thank you
email.
so much.
Shoot me
I'll
an
unmute myself now. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, old times, A5, G4, check mark. A3, G2, D5, A3. A3, G2, C sharp 1, D2. F4, D2, A5. F sharp 2, G1, circle it, you're going to tuck it under. D5, 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 C4, B flat 3, A2, D5, A2, A2, check mark. And pretty much whatever your fingers want to do here. 3, A3, F1, A3, and then the last A, I actually changed it to a 5 and then did the F a 1. You could leave it as a 3 and do 3, 1, but what I would like you to do is put a little squiggly line between the last A and F. And what that's going to alert you to do is a finger roll. And a finger roll is where you just grab every note in between. So if you're on A with a 5, your fourth finger goes on the A flat, your third finger on G, your pointer on F sharp, and your thumb ends up on the F. It's kind of like doing a little glissando, but you can't if you have all those black notes in between. So you're just going to roll your fingers down, and it just makes a nice effect. So a little squiggly line between A and F. And however your fingers want to get there, if you wanted to do A5, F3, A5, A5, that would work as well. You also probably heard me do a few little embellishments when I played it the first time, because when you're sitting on that whole note, now you could just sit on that whole note and be there. Seems like old times. Or you could jazz it up a little bit. Seems like old times. And you could just go down a half a step and come back. Something like this. And all you're doing is going down to the A and back up to a B flat before coming down to the A. You could also do going up and coming back, but then your fingering doesn't work. Then you have to change your fingers. So if you go to the second line, I just went up to a B flat. I'm on an A, second line, went up to a B flat, came back to an A. So it's a down and back, or you could do an up and back. Sometimes it's a half note, a half step. Not a half note, a half step. Sometimes you can go up a whole step. And again, use your ears as the final judge as to how far down you or how far up you go on that. And you're just doing a little flip. And it just adds a little bit of motion so that you're not sitting on that note for a real long time. And you don't have to do it every time. You do it whenever you feel like it. But we are creatures of vision, so if you write it in, you will actually remember to try it. And then you have your option. You can play it each time, or you could play it the first time you play it, not the second time, however you want to do that. But those are just little embellishments. You could also do what I like to call a double grace note on some of these notes. You all know that a grace note is a half a step below. I am convinced that a grace note was a mistake, and it was turned into a complete way of playing a la Floyd Kramer. He used grace notes to create his own style. But a grace note is just sliding your finger from a black note up to the next white note. Sometimes I like to do what I like to call a double grace note and just take the two notes directly underneath a note and do a little brrrp up the line. And there's no time value to that. You just have to brrrp. Grace notes have no time value either. But sometimes if you write them in where you like them, then you'll remember to try it or remember to play it. Where did I put those? Let's see. I put one in line 3, and it's Still a Thrill. I did it on Still, and I did it on Thrill. So on Still, I did an E flat to an E to an F. And again, your fingering goes all out the window when you do those. And on Thrill, it would be a G, G sharp A. Then you can do a little grace note before the D for have, and that's just sliding your finger from a C sharp to a D. I did a little flip there on a quarter note, and that just has to be like a little eighth note triplet. Still the Thrill. On the G for the word the, I went up to an A. I did G, up to the A, back down to the G. And it doesn't have to go there. You could try it someplace else and just see how it sounds. So before the note, you just do either a grace note or a double grace note. That's what I call it. I don't think there is a name for it. Then you could do a down and back, or you can do an up and back. And you don't have to do it every time. But if you try some stuff with your fingers, and if Becky was here, she would tell you that it's called noodling, not canoodling. That's a different thing. But it's called noodling, and you're just kind of letting your fingers walk on the keys and do something different. And the extra things that you're doing are called embellishments. You don't want to completely change the melody. You just want to add a little bit of spice. And if you watch certain artists, like I got a lot of my noodles from Albert Monero. I really liked his style, so I took a lot of my noodles from him. So watch different artists and you'll see that they do different things. Why do they sound different from the way we play it? Well, because we like to play it exactly as written. But we all are musicians and we all have our own style. And your own style means that you are going to add your own embellishments and your own sounds and your own backgrounds. And that's, you're being a musician, you're making an arrangement. Now, I told you I was also going to talk about transpose, but let me play it one more time. Let's pick a different background here. Let's go to Bert's Bounce. Slow it down just a bit. That's actually pretty good. It's 113. And here we go. Seems like old times. Okay, I won't play it again the whole way through. But did you hear the transpose? Transpose just means you're going to hit that transpose button up one time. Go to the sharp one. Goes up one time. Now, I left it on that note that I was holding. There are several ways to do a transpose. If you're holding the note and chord and you make that transpose, it will carry the note that you're holding and the chord that you're holding, and you'll hear it, and your audience will hear it. So they are already clued in to the fact that, ooh, I am doing a transpose. So if you're sitting on that F chord and an F note, it's here. Hear it go up? Okay. So it just alerted the audience. I'm going to play the next verse on the next step up. Or you could have done it with a fill-in. And that will alert your audience. Your fill-in will automatically play up the half step. Or you could do it as a surprise. Now, how do you do it as a surprise? If you do it as a surprise, you have to do a drum solo, because a drum solo takes, or a no chord, it's a no chord with the fill-in. And what it does is this. Here's the F chord. I'm going to do a no chord. You still get the drums. Then if I do a fill-in along with it, so that your other hand can reach up and transpose, and guess what? You can't hear it. But when you come back in, now it's going to be up half a step. So it's kind of a surprise for your audience, for your listener. And it just is a matter of taste, or what song you're doing, or how do you want to make the arrangement. Do you want to alert your audience to that transposition? Or do you want it to be a dramatic surprise when you come back in? There is no right or wrong way. There's just several different ways to do it. Or if you have a problem, every organ has its transpose in a different place. If you're unsure of where it is, and am I going to be able to reach up there while I'm doing this and while I'm doing that, if you save it to a preset, save your first verse in the transpose, and then the second verse, do the transpose up and save it with the transpose. Because remember, when you go to memorizing, it says memorizing to preset A, whatever one I want to choose, with style, yes, with transpose, yes, because if you do it with transpose, it'll take it up that half step just by pressing the next number down, for those of you who like to use presets. Okay. Any questions so far?
I have one.
Okay.
You said transpose up half a step.
Yes,
Can you transpose up one whole step?
you can.
Yeah, okay.
You may. Yep, some songs actually will do that for you. If you take a look at some of the songs, like My Heart Will Go On, it transposes up in the middle of the song. And it goes from, I believe, the key of F to the key of G, which is a whole step. So you can go up a whole step. And it really determines how you want it to sound. And that's all. That's all. And if you do it up a whole step, all you do is press it twice. 1, 2. Because remember, 2 halves equals 1 whole. So you have to do it twice. 1, 2.
Okay, thanks.
You're very welcome, Ramon. Also, do you ever transpose down in a song? I'm not going to say never, because I've seen it done. But for the most part, let's put it that way. For the most part, when you are making an arrangement, when you want to transpose from one verse to the next, it will go up. Think Mac the Knife. Mac the Knife transposes, every verse goes up. And all you have to do is just play it exactly the way it's written. It just makes for a different arrangement. Okay. If anybody would like to play along with me, I'm going to put it on a different background. Let's go to Vegas Big Band, which is, it comes up at 188. Yeah, that's crazy. So we're going to slow it down, and for the sake of all of us playing together, I'm going to slow it down to 95, and we're really going to torch it. I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, and we come in on the third beat. One, two, three, 4, 1, 2. And we'll just leave it there, because if I transpose and you guys don't, then it's going to be a mess. Okay, any questions?
One more question.
Yes.
This is on the key of F,
Yes.
which we established that the key of F, we take from the last chord of the music.
Correct.
It starts with a D. The music starts with a D chord.
Yep.
What
How
makes
do you know? How do you know that that is not the key of the song? And has nothing to do with the last chord. Let's say you didn't look at the last chord. There
Okay.
is a little trick to going, oh, that's not the key of the song. It's the 7. The 7, the key of the song usually does not have a 7 on it in the song, especially if you're starting with that. Because yes, you don't see an F until you get to line 3. But if you have a 7 on that chord, chances are, oh, that sounds like a song too. Chances are, if there's a 7 on the chord, it's probably not the key of the song. Okay? Because I know so many of us, and I do the same, you look at the first chord and you have a tendency to just hit that first chord for your introduction. Don't do it. Go to the end of the song and check it out. And always, always, let your ears be the final judge. If you play that last chord and it doesn't sound right, chances are it transposed someplace in the music. And if it doesn't sound right, try something else, or kind of search through for clues and see if you can't find out what it is. And if you're not sure, call me, email me, and I'll help you out.
What's the reason why we take the last chord of the song for the key?
Because that's usually the key center. That's usually the scale that the song was written on.
Okay.
It's not, see, this is a case where you have 2 different chords. And it's not changing key in the middle of the song.
Right.
Music theory tells us that the 5th grade of the scale is usually the second to the last chord. That's the lead-in chord to get you to the scale. Now, how can I do that? Okay, here's your hand. Okay, so let's say that this is F. That's the last chord. All right, I'm going to count 5, and don't worry about flats and sharps. F, G, A, B, C. C is the 5th grade of the scale. Okay? Normally, the second to the last chord will be that 5th element with a 7 on it. 7 goes back to the first one. You'll find that in 99% of the songs, the second to the last chord will be the 5th grade of the scale with a 7 on it. So I look for clues. I look for clues. Oh my goodness, D goes back to G, G minor C7F. Aha, there's a good one. G minor C7F in line 3. That's a
Yeah.
very common chord progression in the key of F. There's that C7F. So if you look for little clues like that, it'll help. But usually the second to the last chord will be the 5th grade of the key of the song. And why do you want to play the key of the song? So it sounds like you're starting the right song. If you started it with a D or a D7, it may sound okay, but it might not sound exactly correct. Let's try this. Let's try an introduction. I'm just going to play a D chord.
Okay.
Didn't really sound right, did it? It just sounded a little off.
Okay.
But that's the reason.
Okay.
If you see a 7 on it, chances are that's not the key of the song. Usually going to be the last chord.
Okay. Thanks.
Yep, you're welcome. And if it went over your head, it's okay too. It's okay. All you have to know is, where do I put my fingers to make the song sound pretty? That's the only thing you ever need to know. Any other questions? You guys are the awesomest. Let's take a look at what we're going to do next week. Oh, next week we will do the shadow of your smile. Very cool. Very cool. Okay. Don't forget, we have a Zoom musical coming up at 2 o'clock. So you can go have some lunch and come back at 2 for Mr. Sean Maloney. Now remember, he's on a different link. So you all should have gotten the link on your email. Just go to that right before 2 o'clock. And he's good. And he's been at our store before. So a lot of you have actually met him in person. Very cool. Okay, well, we will see you again next week. And love you guys. Love you all.
Bye, Dawn. Thank you.
Bye. You're welcome. Thank you.
Thanks, Dawn.
Thank you.
Bye. Good lesson. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks,
now.
Dawn.
Love you guys.